Hello, this is Mike Daly again with the Cut the Crap channel, and this video is called An Apology to the Unchurched. So, if you would call yourself a humanist, an atheist, agnostic, um, essentially any religion other than Christian, or just not really any religion at all, then this video is for you. And like it says in the title, this is an apology, but I'm going to do my best to apologize on behalf of, well, specifically the American Christian church for how we failed in just many, many ways to really be what we're supposed to be and do what we're supposed to do. The first way that we have failed is by how we've allowed ourselves to be very divided. I don't know if there's any group or entity that's more divided than the church, really. I mean, there's something on the order of over 40,000 different Christian denominations, with more being added every day. And a lot of these denominations start over some pretty petty differences, maybe just some minor doctrinal differences. I know of one denomination that exists specifically because they believe that you should not use musical instruments in worship, because there's no example of that in the New Testament, even though there is in the Old Testament. So Jesus commanded us to basically love each other, and that by the love that we show to each other, that it would be a testimony to the world. But we've pretty much done the opposite, and have kind of fought each other and bickered at each other, and we had all these church splits, and pastors will get mad at each other if they feel like one is somehow stealing the other's members, and it's just people vie for positions of power and influence within the church. So we've just really, really failed to demonstrate the unified church that Jesus commanded us to do. Another really big thing, the church in America is at least when it comes to money and material things, is by no means poor. We've got a lot of resources, but those resources have largely been wasted on or diverted to things that really are not so important. We seem to be obsessed with building projects and building more church buildings. I recall a quote from one Chinese Christian who was visiting America and made the comment, "Wow, it's amazing how much y'all are able to accomplish without God." So, if we could have saved the world through building church buildings, I think we certainly would have done it by now. We've invested resources and things like gymnasiums and I think some churches have become almost like country clubs in a way. But what we haven't done, at least what we haven't done nearly enough of, is using our resources to help the poor, to help the disadvantaged. When I look at the Bible, in the book of Acts, when the church first started, the poor knew apparently that the church was someplace that they could come, that they could get help. But nowadays, people are, say, a lot more or just as likely, if not more, to turn to secular organizations or turn to the government for help. And we have the gall, I think, some Christian conservatives to say things like, "Oh, well, it's not the government's job to help the poor. It's like that's the job of like charitable organization." But while at the same time, we in the church largely really fail to help the poor, or even worse, to judge the poor for having apparently some kind of character defect, which is causing them to be poor. I recall reading one article how Christians are significantly more likely to blame a poor person's position on their lack of effort than an unchurched person is. So we've even gone so far as to sometimes make people qualify in our eyes to get assistance from us. So if we don't think, that they're somebody that's, worthy, if they're not worthy of our assistance or won't follow our rules, then they may not get it, especially in regards to, say, like the LGBT community. Another big one, we have pretty much failed to fight for justice like we should. The Bible makes it clear that we're to be a voice that stands up for the oppressed, that stands up for the poor, for the disadvantaged, for those that are being exploited. And now we can be real loud on some issues. I guess the two real big ones are abortion and gay marriage, two issues which are extremely personal issues, but we don't seem to have a problem taking a very, very strong stand when it comes to how other people should live their lives and the decisions they should make. But when it comes to other social issues like racism, income equality, over-incarceration, homelessness, and lack of affordable housing, police brutality. Where are we really? There's some ministers that are active in these causes, but from what I've seen, since I've been more getting involved in social justice issues, I see a lot more like secular organizations and maybe non-religious people who are really passionately involved. And while, like I do see some Christians, they seem to be more the exception than the rule. And I think what's really sad is that a lot of times the church, we maybe ended up being on the wrong side of these issues. I know, like, at least some people who would at least claim to be Christians would say, like, make fun of Colin Kaepernick for his, protest against police brutality because he's disrespecting the flag or disrespecting the military or whatever. We've just really, really missed it there. And this next one or last one may sound a bit strange, but I would say that we've failed to really demonstrate really the power and the love of God. And I know probably a lot of you don't believe in miracles, and I certainly wouldn't blame you because where would you really see that in America? I mean, you might hear of, something at I don't know, at a televangelist's crusade, but, it's like, who knows if that really happened or was just made up or something. And I think the truth of it is God really, I think, longs to show his supernatural power and in all kinds of ways, and to, like, heal people and so forth. But the problem is that he's made himself dependent on us, who are his body, that are supposed to be his hands and his feet. And most of us are like spiritual pygmies. In the West, Christians, we're really, really good, like at head knowledge, at learning about the Bible, and, learning and arguing about all kinds of, deep theological issues. But we don't seem to be so good when it actually comes to knowing God and, really, and on just a deep spiritual level. And as a consequence, when you can read things in the Bible, where Jesus can basically commanded us to preach the gospel, with miracles and signs following. And I guess the reason you don't see that is basically because most of us, and I include myself, just don't lack the devotion, lack the faith that's really needed for that. So we're just more focused on external things, on our church growth programs or whatever. So now, and I'm sure there's a lot more things that I haven't mentioned here. And if you're looking at this as someone that's like an unchurched person, I can see how you can look at it and conclude, oh, well, this Christianity, it's just a bunch of BS. The whole thing, it's just a big, stupid religious mess that isn't real. But I do want to say, I get where you're coming from, but there is a real Christian faith. Once you get past all the crap, this stuff is real. Christians in other countries where they're like really seriously persecuted for their faith, say like in China, where you have the underground church. You've got, Christians by the thousands who get imprisoned for their faith, some that'll even die for their faith. And historically, when the church first started, I know that like under the Roman Empire, like under Nero, Christians were persecuted like crazy whenever something would go wrong. Nero's response, oh, Christians to the lions, let's punish the Christians. And but somehow for all that, despite all that, the church didn't die off. And so I think, people aren't going to just lay down their lives for something that's BS. So, but anyway, and so I guess as a representative of the church, I humbly ask for your forgiveness. And a big reason I've started this channel is to kind of draw attention to issues I think where the church is missing it, so that like in some small way, that we can, I think the more light we can shine on these issues, the more awareness, then the greater the chance, or the greater the motivation that we'll have to change, or the biblical word is to repent, of where we've been wrong, or where we've been stupid, and pig-headed. And from what I'm seeing from the people that have been, I guess, liking the Facebook page, is that I think a lot of you probably are unchurched, and so it may be that I'm just doing videos, and then maybe if you know people that are Christians and they seem to be wrong about a certain issue, maybe I'll do a video about it, and you can say, hey, well, this guy's a Christian like you, and he's talking about stuff from the Bible about how you're wrong. And so anyway, thank you for listening. I appreciate your comments. Please subscribe to the channel so you'll be informed of new videos when they come out by ringing the bell, or clicking the bell, I mean. And you have a good day.